Welcome to the AI Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Every day on the podcast, we break down what's happening in AI news. And today on the podcast, we're diving into how the Department of Defense is planning on using AI. They're planning on building out a really impressive AI fleet. This is something that was recently reported on by the Wall Street Journal. So today on the podcast, we're going to be diving into the implications of that in geopolitics, what the AI technology is behind this, and where we kind of see this whole thing going in the future. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. The first thing I want to say here is that the United States, right, the DoD, Department of Defense, they're actively evaluating the potential expansion of their drone and fleet autonomous system. So they're doing this with an eye towards incorporating AI technologies within the next 2 years. So this initiative originally is kind of designed to keep pace with the evolving global threats. And particularly when we're talking about this, we're looking at China. This is the big one that is frequently brought up. So Kathleen Hicks is the Deputy Secretary of Defense, and she was recently cited by the Wall Street Journal as stating that the Pentagon aims to develop AI-powered systems that are, quote, intended to be small, smart, and cheap. So Hicks is expected to disclose plans for enhancing the capabilities of the United States' existing network of drones and sensors deployed for international military surveillance. But among the options being considered are solar-powered autonomous systems described as distributed pods of self-propelled systems that could offer near real-time data. So further considerations include the potential development of autonomous networks on the ground and in outer space. So kind of focusing on logistical support and then also defense mechanisms. This is a really big area that they're currently looking at. So at this stage, it's not entirely clear what specific types of AI are going to be integrated into these drones and other surveillance assets. But regardless, Hicks remains really positive, optimistic this is going to be successful. And Hicks's remarks provide further insights into the Department of Defense's ambitious kind of replicator programs, which Political recently reported will cost, quote, hundreds of millions of dollars. So obviously incredibly expensive. But the idea is that these are going to serve as kind of the blueprint for future rapid advancements in military technology. So I also do think it's worth noting that the US military already has like a really extensive array of autonomous systems for land, air, and sea surveillance. So this is nothing like incredibly new in that regard. And I do think it's also worth saying that it's been committed to developing AI-driven weaponry for years. This is nothing new just because all of a sudden everyone's talking about AI. This is something that has been, their plan for a long time. And so the Defense Advancement Research Project Agency, which is DARPA, you hear DARPA quoted a lot, right? This is an agency under the department, really under the Defense Department, and it has been very instrumental in pioneering technologies that have had really far-reaching applications beyond just the military, but that include, like GPS and autonomous vehicles. Like they've really helped to develop a lot of different areas. And here's the one thing that I will say. I think at this point, there's a lot of people that are kind of weeding out, they're discussing and they're talking about, what are like the ethical implications of having AI used for military purposes? Where is that going to go? And a lot of this is talking about like at some point if we have like humanoid robots that have AI in them, are those able to be futuristic soldiers and go and kill? And some people will be like, yeah, it's great because we don't have to send real soldiers to die. And other people are like, yeah, but like who's making the decision about that robot pulling the trigger and possibly ending a human life or injuring someone? There's so many ethical considerations here. So I think it's really a big discussion that we're going to be having, but regardless of the ethical considerations and regardless of the conversation, in my opinion, this is probably something that is on the horizon, and we need to look at, what that looks like, have those discussions. It's really tricky too, because there's of course the entire side of like, well, if the United States doesn't do it, then is Russia or China not going to do it? Our foreign adversaries, as it were, right? Would they stop just because something seems ethically questionable, so there's all sorts of really tricky situations. And if we don't do something, are we going to be kind of at a disadvantage because of it? In any case, very interesting. But right now, we're really focusing on kind of these autonomous surveillance systems, and that seems to be more of the focus at the moment, right? Surveillance is a lot less ethically questionable. Going and gathering intel and bring it back to your troops or headquarters to know what's going on in the space is a lot less questionable than at the actual machines that are going to be, shooting and all that kind of stuff.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. That's the sound of switching your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Harness the best converting checkout and same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Stop leaving sales on the table. Discover why millions trust Shopify to build, grow, and run their business. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech23.
That are done AI. And so there's, of course, there's all sorts of things. There's like unmanned spacecraft is one thing, but an unmanned spacecraft that you program to hit a target and it goes and hits that target and maybe it misses or it hits someone else in the meantime and there's some sort of civilian casualty, but it was an AI that did it. Like, who's responsible? All sorts of questions that we will be inevitably working on. But all in all, a very, very interesting topic that we'll continue to follow, which is, of course, AI in the Department of Defense, AI in the military. So thank you so much for tuning into the AI Chat podcast. If you liked this episode, I would love to hear your thoughts over on our Facebook group, and make sure to leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcast. It helps people find it. Really helps me get great guests on here. So I really do appreciate that. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.